Welcome to Chinese History and Mythology.
Hello friends, welcome back. And welcome to keep listening to Chinese History and Mythology. Last time, we talked about how King Hui of Zhou was critically ill. Crown Prince Zhou feared that the successor queen, Chen Gui, and his uncle Tesudai would seize the chance to take the throne. So he urgently sent the low-ranking noble Wang Zihu to the state of Kuiqiu asked for help. Not long after that, King Hui died. Crown Prince Zheng discussed the situation with Yao Gongkong and Xiao Boliao. They decided not to announce the death yet, and they secretly sent a message overnight to Duke Huan of Qi, asking Qi to step in and hold the situation steady. When Duke Huan of Qi got the news, he immediately summoned the lords to form an alliance at Tao. Duke Huan of Xing also came in person. The lords of 8 states then signed a joint memorial and sent 8 senior ministers into Zhou. On the surface, they said they were coming to pay respects and ask after the king's health, but in reality they were coming to publicly support Crown Prince Zheng. Wang Zi, who entered the capital first to report their arrival, Crown Prince Zheng then sent Xiao Boliao out of the city to welcome them and reward them. After that, he officially announced the mourning rites. The 8 envoys used the momentum to request that Crown Prince Zheng take the throne and receive the officials' formal congratulations. Queen Chen Gui and Techu Dai saw that the tide had already turned. They could only swallow their frustration, and did not dare to stir up trouble again. The next year, Crown Prince Zheng changed the reign title and formally ascended the throne. He became King Xiang of Zhou. A succession crisis that was close to exploding inside the royal house was pressed down by the combined force of the lords. Then the story turned back to Qi. After King Zhong took the throne, he wanted to reward the lords for supporting the new king. So he sent Zhao Gongkong to Qi to grant honors to Duke Huan of Qi. Duke Huan used this opportunity to summon the lords again and prepare for an alliance meeting at Kuiqiu. On the way, Guan Zhong reminded Duke Huan that the Zhou royal house had nearly fallen into disaster because the line between the rightful heir and other sons was not clearly protected. Qi also had to name its crown prince as early as possible, or the same kind of chaos could happen later. Duke Huan admitted that he was hesitating. Wu Kui was older, but Zhao seemed more capable. And behind the scenes, it also involved the positions of Cheng Weiji, Ya, Shu Tao, and others. Guan Zhong saw the hidden danger at once. He argued for choosing the worthy, and he advised Duke Huan to establish Prince Zhao. He also proposed a crucial move. During the alliance meeting, they should choose the most respected lord and make him the person entrusted with the succession. With outside authority involved, the order of succession could be nailed down firmly, and Wu Kui would have no room later to argue for the throne by claiming the advantage of being the eldest son. At the Kuiqiu alliance meeting, Zhao Gongkong was also present. Meanwhile, the new ruler of Song, Duke Xiang of Song, had just suffered a death in the family. Yet he still came to the meeting in mourning clothes. This showed both his respect for ritual and his respect for Qi. Guan Zhong judged that Duke Xiang of Song was the best choice. So Duke Huan publicly took Duke Xiang's hand and solemnly entrusted Prince Zhao to him. On the day of the alliance, the lords followed Zhou ritual, performed the formal bows, and received the royal charge. Duke Huan could have been exempt from bowing when receiving honors, but after Guan Zhong reminded him, he still stepped down the stairs and kowtowed. He showed a full posture of honoring Zhou, and the lords respected him even more. Then Duke Huan restated the alliance terms and took the lead in swearing to let go of old grudges and return to goodwill. The lords all believed him. But just as his prestige reached its peak, Duke Huan suddenly formed an even bigger ambition. He wanted to imitate the ancient sage kings and perform the grand rite known as the Feng and Shan sacrifices. Zhu Gongquang did not oppose him openly, but in private, he warned Guan Zhong that a feudal lord talking about Feng and Shan did not fit the proper rank and title. That night, Guan Zhong urged Duke Huan to stop. He said that Feng and Shan required clear proof of heaven's mandate and auspicious signs. Right now, no lucky signs had appeared. Instead, ominous events had happened again and again. If Duke Huan forced the ritual anyway, he would only become a laughingstock across the realm. Duke Huan was left with nothing to say, and from then on he never mentioned Feng and Shan again. Finally, on Zhao Zhongkong's return to Zhou, he met Duke Xiang of Jin. Duke Xiang regretted missing such a grand gathering, but Zhao Zhongkong spoke plainly. He said Duke Huan's achievements were so great that arrogance was starting to grow. When something reaches fullness, it naturally begins to decline, just like the moon that waxes to the full and then must wane, or water that rises to high and then spills over. Qi's power, he warned, might already be near its highest point. On Duke Xiang's way back to Jin, he fell ill and died, and with his death, the fuse for major turmoil in Jin was already lit. So that is where we stopped last time. The new king of Zhou had been established. Duke Huan of Qi was even more celebrated, but signs of decline had also appeared, and once Duke Xiang of Jin died, a new storm began to gather. How chaotic would Jin become? In this episode, we continue the story. Duke Xiang of Jin was bewitched at home by Li Ji, and he was deceived outside by the so-called 2 and 5. He favored Prince Ziki more and more, and he grew increasingly distant from the crown prince. The only reason Li Ji could not act sooner was that the crown prince, Shen Sheng, was extremely cautious, and he also had major military achievements from leading troops to defeat enemies. Li Ji could not find an opening. One day, Li Ji summoned the court entertainer Shi and told him her most secret plan. She said, "I want to remove the crown prince and put Ziki into the eastern palace to replace him. What good strategy do you have?" She said, "Shen Sheng, Chong'er, and Yiwu are all stationed in distant border regions. In the court, who would dare to oppose you?" Li Ji said, "Those 3 princes are in their prime. They have experience, and many people at court are loyal to them. I do not dare to act rashly." She said, "Then you should eliminate them one by one?" Li Ji asked. "Which one first?" She said, "First, get rid of Crown Prince Shen Sheng. He is kind, and he is also very concerned about keeping himself clean. Because he is kind, he fears offending others. Because he cares about being clean, he fears slander. When a person fears offending others, he ends up offending himself. When a person fears slander, he will not endure humiliation in silence. The crown prince may be pushed aside right now, but the ruler knows his character very well. If you say he has rebellious intent, the ruler will not believe it. You can cry to the ruler in the middle of the night, use words of praise as your cover, and frame Shen Sheng inside that praise. I think this plan will succeed." Li Ji followed Shi's plan. That night, Duke Xiang saw her crying in the middle of the night and felt shocked. He asked again and again what happened. Li Ji pretended she did not want to speak. Only after repeated questioning did she finally say, "No matter what I say, you will not believe it. I am crying because I fear that one day I will no longer be able to stay by your side and serve you." Duke Xiang asked, "Why would you say something so unlucky?" Li Ji wiped her tears and said, "I heard that Shen Sheng looks gentle on the outside, but inside he is cold. In Kuiqiu, he gives generous favors to the people, and the people are very loyal to him. That has a purpose. Shen Sheng also often says that you have been misled by me, and that one day this will throw Jin into great chaos. Everyone outside is spreading this rumor, and only you do not know. Why not execute me, so that Shen Sheng has no excuse to rise up, and so the state and the people can avoid war?" Duke Xiang said, "Shen Sheng treats the people kindly. How could he be disloyal or unfilial to his father?" Li Ji said, "I also doubt it, but I have heard people say this. The kindness of ordinary people is different from the kindness of a ruler. Ordinary people treat close kin and friends with affection, and they call that kindness, but a ruler calls it kindness when it benefits the state and the ancestral altar. If something benefits the state, who still worries about private affection?" Duke Xiang asked again. "The crown prince cares about keeping himself clean. Would he not fear the evil reputation of killing his ruler and violating the throne?" Li Ji said, "Long ago, King Yu of Zhou did not kill Crown Prince Yiju. He exiled him to the state of Shen. Then the Marquis of Shen brought in the Quanrong forces. King Yu was killed at Mount Li, and Yiju was set up as ruler. He moved the capital east to Luoyang and became the founding ruler of Eastern Zhou, who at that time said that King Ping committed the crime of killing his ruler." When Duke Xiang heard this, fear rose in his heart. He put on his robe and sat up, saying, "What you say makes sense. How should I handle this?" Li Ji deliberately said, "Why not retire and yield the throne to him? If he is satisfied, perhaps he will let us go." Duke Xiang hurriedly said, "No, I became a lord through the words, martial strength and authority. If the state is lost in my hands, then I cannot be called martial. If I cannot overpower my own son, then I cannot be called authoritative. If I lose both, and I am controlled by others, even if I cling to life, it is no different from death." Li Ji was secretly delighted. She then offered another plan. "The Red D and the Zhou people often raid our borders. Why not send Shen Sheng to lead troops against the Zhou people? Then we can see whether he can truly command the soldiers and the people. If he is defeated, we will already have a ready-made charge against him. If he wins, that victory will likely make him proud and inflate his ambition. Then we can find a way to remove him, and no one will object." Duke Xiang praised the plan loudly. The next day, he sent an order to Shen Sheng, commanding him to lead the Kuiqiu troops and people to attack the Zhao people. The junior tutor Li Kai tried to stop it. He said, "The crown prince is the deputy ruler of the state. When the ruler travels, The crown prince oversees the government, and serving beside the ruler is also the crown prince's duty. We already should not have sent the crown prince away from court. How can we now make him personally lead an army into battle? Duke Xian rejected him. This is not Shensheng's first campaign. Also, I have 9 sons. Who becomes crown prince has not been settled. Say no more. Li Kai fell silent and withdrew. He returned and told Hudo what had happened. Hudo sighed deeply and said, "The crown prince is in danger." He wrote a letter to Shensheng, urging him to leave the army and flee to another state. Shensheng was shocked when he read the letter. He said, "My father orders me to lead troops. This is not trust. It is a test of loyalty. If I disobey and run, I will surely be cursed by reputation. If I happen to die on the battlefield, I can at least leave behind the name of a loyal minister and filial son." So Shensheng led his troops into a great battle with the Gao people at Jisang. The Gao people were defeated and fled. Shensheng quickly sent someone to report victory to Duke Xiang. When Li Ji heard that Shensheng had won, she said, "The crown prince truly can command soldiers and the people. What should we do now?" Duke Xian said, "His crime has not yet taken shape. Let us wait a bit longer." Hu Tu judged that Jin was heading for great chaos. He claimed illness and stopped going out. At that time, the states bordering Jin included Yu and Goo. The 2 states shared the same clan name and lived side by side, supporting each other like lips and teeth. The ruler of Guo was named Shu. He was arrogant and loved war, and he had harassed Jin's borders many times. Duke Xian wanted to attack. Li Ji offered another suggestion. Send Shensheng again. He has fame and authority, and the soldiers support him. This time he will surely win. Duke Xian worried that if Shensheng won again, his prestige would rise and become even harder to control. So he hesitated. He summoned Zun Shi and asked, "Can Guo be attacked?" "Zun," she said, "you and Guo are allied. If we attack Guo, you will rescue them. If we instead go around and attack you, Guo will rescue them. 1 against 2 is not favorable." Duke Xian said, "Does that mean I truly cannot subdue Guo?" "Zun," she said, "I have heard that the Lord of Guo is greedy and lustful. You can select beautiful women from the states we can reach, train them in song and dance, and then present them to the Lord of Guo. He will accept them. He will indulge in pleasure, neglect government, and push away loyal ministers. We can also bribe the Quanrong with gifts, so they repeatedly raid Guo's territory. When the time is right, we launch an attack, and we can destroy Guo." Duke Xian accepted this plan. He sent women and musicians to Guo. The Lord of Guo was delighted and wanted to accept them, but the minister Zhou Zhikao hurriedly tried to stop him. He said, "Jin is treating us like fish on a hook. Why would you swallow their bait?" The Lord of Guo ignored the warning. He kept the women and musicians and promised he would no longer harass Jin's borders. From then on, he sought pleasure day and night and stopped attending court. Zhou Zhikao spoke again to remonstrate. The Lord of Guo became furious, exiled him from the capital, and sent him to guard the pass at Xieyang. Soon, tempted by Jin's bribe, the Quanrong indeed invaded Guo. Their troops reached Wairui, but Guo's army defeated them. The ruler of the Quanrong refused to accept defeat. He gathered the whole nation's forces and attacked Guo again. The Lord of Guo wanted the credit, and personally led a great army to resist. The 2 armies faced each other at Sangkun, and for a time neither side could win. When Duke Xian heard this, he summoned Zunshi again for advice. Zunshi said, "I have a plan. It can let you take Jiwo today, and destroy you tomorrow." Duke Xian was overjoyed. "Tell me quickly." "Zun," she said, "bribe you and borrow their roads to attack Guo." Duke Xian said, "We just made peace with Guo. If we mobilize troops, we have no proper excuse. Will the people of Yud believe me?" Zun, she answered, "Secretly order the northern border commander to provoke Guo's. Border officials will surely come to accuse us. Then we can use that as our reason to attack." Duke Xian adopted the plan. Before long, Guo's officials came to question Jin, and the 2 states began war. Once the war had started, Duke Xian asked Zhenshi, "Now we have an excuse to attack Guo, but what should we use to bribe you?" "Zun," she said, "the ruler of Yu is greedy, but if we do not use true treasures, it may still be hard to buy him. 2 things can be used, but I fear you will not want to give them up." Duke Xian asked what they were. "Zun," she said, "what the ruler of Yu loves most is a jade disc and a fine horse. Do you not have the bai of Juiji and the Kuqian horse? If you use these 2 treasures as gifts, the ruler of Yu will fall into our trap." Duke Xian could not bear it. "Those are my greatest treasures. How can I give them away?" "Son," she smiled and said, "I knew you would hate to part with them, but think like this. If you accept the treasures, they will let us borrow the road to attack Guo. Without help from you, Guo will fall. Once Guo falls, you cannot exist alone either. Where can the jade and the horse truly go? For now, we are only storing them in someone else's hands for a short time. The minister Li Kai said, Yo has 2 worthy ministers, Gong Jiqi and Bai Lishi. They can see things like a god. They are very shrewd. I fear they will persuade the ruler of you to stop this. Zun, she said, the ruler of you is greedy and foolish. Even if good ministers advise him, he will not listen. So Duke Xiang handed over the 2 treasures to Zun Shi, and sent him to you to present the bribe. At first, the ruler of Yu was angry when he heard that Jin wanted to borrow the road to attack Guo, but the moment he saw the jade and the horse, he could not stop smiling. He stroked the jade with his hand and stared at the horse with his eyes. He asked Zunshi, These are your state treasures, rare under heaven. Why are you giving them to me? Zun, she replied calmly, My lord admires your ability and fears your power, so he dares not keep these treasures for himself. He is willing to offer them, to win the goodwill of your whole state. The ruler of Yu said, Even so, you must have something you want from me. Zun, she said, Guo has repeatedly invaded our borders, my lord, for the sake of the state and the ancestral altar, has endured humiliation again and again and signed peace agreements with them. But the ink is barely dry, and they already accuse us day after day, so my lord wishes to borrow your roads to send troops and punish Guo. Also, if we are fortunate enough to win, all spoils of war will belong to your state. We are willing to form an everlasting alliance with you. The ruler of Yu was delighted and wanted to agree at once. Gong Jiqi urgently tried to stop him. He said, My lord must not agree. People say that when the lips are gone, the teeth will be exposed to cold. Jin has swallowed more than one state of the same clan name, yet they have not dared to attack Guo and Yu. Why? Because Guo and Yu are allied, supporting each other like lips and teeth. If Guo is destroyed by Jin today, disaster will fall on us tomorrow. The ruler of Yu said, The ruler of Jin does not spare precious treasures and sends people to befriend me. Why should I refuse them a road that is only the width of a carriage track? Also, Jin is 10 times stronger than Guo. If I lose Guo but gain Jin, what is bad about that? Step aside, and stop interfering in my great affair. Gong Jiqi still wanted to argue. Bai Li, she quickly pulled him back. After Gong Jiqi withdrew, he complained to Bai Li Shi. Why did you not help me persuade him? Why did you stop me? Bai Li, she said, I have heard that offering loyal advice to a foolish man is like throwing pearls onto the road. Xiaji killed Guan Longfeng, and Shangzhou killed Bai Gan. Because those men forced their loyal advice forward, I think you are also in danger. Gong Jiqi judged that you could not escape destruction, and he also feared the ruler of Yu would harm him, so he led his whole clan, young and old, and fled you. Zun, she returned to Jin and reported, The ruler of Yu has accepted the jade and the horse, and he has agreed to lend us the road. Duke Xiang then wanted to personally lead the army to attack Guo. Li Kai advised him, To break Guo now is as easy as turning over one's hand. There is no need for you to go. Duke Xiang asked, What plan do you have? Li Kai answered, Guo's capital is built at Shenyang, but the gate of the state is at Shenyang. If Shenyang falls, Guo will fall. I am not talented, but I am willing to serve as your commander. If I do not achieve merit and defeat the enemy, I accept any punishment. So Duke Xiang appointed Li Kai as the main commander, and Zun Shi as deputy commander. They led 400 war chariots to attack Guo. They also first sent word of the expedition date to the ruler of Yu. The ruler of Yu said, I accepted your treasures and have no way to repay you. I am willing to join forces with you to attack Guo. Zun, she said, If you want to join the expedition, then it is better to offer the Sheiyang Pass for our army to use. The ruler of Yu said, The Sheiyang Pass is guarded by Guo's troops. How can I offer it? Zun, she said, I have heard that the Lord of Yuez is currently fighting the Quanrong at Sangshan. You can use the excuse of going to assist them. In secret, you guide Jin's troops inside, then we can seize Xiangchan Pass easily. The ruler of Yule followed Zunshi's plan and went to Zhiyang. He lied and said he was going to send reinforcements to Guo. The Guo commander guarding the pass, Zhou Jiko, believed him and opened the gate, letting the ruler of Yu drive his war chariots inside. The moment the chariots entered and the gate closed, the Jin warriors hidden inside, the chariots attacked together. Li Kai seized the opening, led his troops straight in, and captured Xiayang in one decisive strike. Commander Zhou Jikao lost Xiang. Afraid that the Lord of Goei would punish him, he led his remaining men and surrendered to the Jin army. Li Kai kept Zhou Jikao as a guide and marched toward Shenyang. When the Lord of Guo heard it sanctioned that Jin had broken through Xiangyang, he was stunned. He hurriedly ordered a retreat. The Quanrong took the chance to pursue and kill. They crushed Guo's forces. The Lord of Guo fled with the remnants back to the capital, Shenyang, only to be surrounded by the Jin army that arrived right after. Shenyang was besieged for several months. Inside the city, grain and supplies ran out completely. The soldiers were exhausted, and the people wept everywhere. When the Jin commander Li Kai saw that the time had come, he ordered the surrendered General Zhou to write a letter urging surrender. They shot it into the city with an arrow. After the Lord of Giwa read the letter, he said, "My former rulers once served as high ministers of the Zhou court. I can never surrender to the feudal lords." So that very night, he led his family and fled toward the Zhou royal capital. Li Kai entered the city with his troops and calmed the people. Jin's discipline was strict. They did not take even the smallest thing. The people of Shenyang were truly pleased. Li Kuai loaded all the treasures of Jiwo into carts. He gave 3/10 of it, together with the captured women and musicians, to the ruler of Yu. The ruler of Yu saw that the Jin people kept their word, and he felt happy in his heart. After the Jiwo matter was settled, Li Kai sent a fast rider to report to Duke Xian. At the same time, he pretended to be ill and kept the entire army camped beneath the walls of Shangyan. 1 month later, the ruler of Yu suddenly received a scout report in the capital of Yui. The report said Duke Xian of Jin had personally led troops and had already arrived outside the capital suburbs. The ruler of Yui asked why he had come. The scout said, "Duke Xian fears that the Jin army may have failed in attacking Guo, so he has come in person to provide support." The ruler of Yu rejoiced. He said, "I was just thinking of meeting the ruler of Jin. Now he has come himself. This is exactly what I want." He rushed out to welcome him in person. The two rulers met, greeted each other, and Duke Xian immediately invited the ruler of Yu to go hunting together at Mount Ji. The ruler of Yu wanted to boast about his success, so he sent out all the war chariots and fine horses from the city. He himself rode side by side with Duke Xian and shot arrows as they hunted. Halfway through the hunt, someone suddenly reported that a fire had broken out in the city. The ruler of Yu said, "This must be an accident. The people were careless. It will be put out soon." He insisted on continuing the hunt, but the minister Bailey, she quietly warned him, "I have heard the city is in great chaos. My lord must not stay here." So the ruler of Yu took leave of Duke Xian and hurried back. On the road, he saw people fleeing in all directions. He also heard them say, "The capital has already been taken by the Jin army while we were away." When the ruler of Yu heard this, he was furious. He ordered his chariot driven quickly to the city walls. There, he saw a general standing on the battlements, fierce and imposing. The general shouted to him, "Yesterday you lent me your roads. Today you lend me your city. Many thanks, many thanks." The ruler of Yu was boiling with rage and ordered an attack, but a storm of arrows poured down from the walls and forced his men back. He had to stop and wait for reinforcements. Just then, a soldier came to report, "Our rear troops have been intercepted and smashed by Jin forces. The main Jin army will arrive at any moment." The ruler of Yu saw he could neither advance nor retreat. He gave a long sigh and said, "I truly regret that I did not listen to Gong Jiki's advice." He saw Bailey Shi beside him and asked, "Why did you not stop me back then?" Bailey Shi said, "If my lord could not listen to Gong Jichi, how could you have listened to me?" At that moment, the surrendered GOWO General Zhou came alone in a single chariot. When the ruler of Yu saw him, shame filled his face. Zhou said, "You trusted Jin's words and abandoned Yuo. So today was destined, now that it has come to this. Instead of fleeing to another state, it is better to surrender to the Jin army. Duke Xian of Jin is broad-minded. He will surely treat you well." The ruler of Yu was still hesitating, when Duke Xian had already sent someone to summon him. The ruler of Yu had no choice but to go. When Duke Xian saw him arrive, he smiled and said, "I came to take back the jade disc and the fine horse." He then kept the ruler of Yu in the camp for the night. Bailey, she stayed behind him, never leaving even a step. Someone urged Bailey Shi to escape. Bailey Shi spoke firmly, "I have eaten the ruler of Yu's salary for a long time. Today is the day to repay it." The next day, Duke Xian entered the city to calm the people. Zun Shi hurried to greet him. In his left hand he held the jade disc, and with his right hand he led the fine horse. He walked up to Duke Xian and said, "My plan has succeeded. I now return the jade and the horse to my lord." Duke Xian was overjoyed. An old bearded man wrote a poem. "The jade and the horse are treasures, but still small things. How do they compare to the state and the ancestral altar?" We do not boast that Zun Shi's schemes were so strange. We only laughed that the ruler of Yu was truly foolish. Duke Xian brought the ruler of Yu back to Jin and wanted to execute him. Jin, she advised. A fool like this, what can he accomplish even if he lives? So Duke Xian kept the ruler of Yu and Jin, treating him with the rituals reserved for a ruler who has lost his state. The surrendered Guo general Zhou Zhikao was granted the rank of Grand Officer. Zhou Zhikao then recommended Bailey Shi to Duke Xian. When Duke Xian heard that Bailey Shi was capable, he told Zhou Zhikao to invite him. Bailey Shi refused and said, "A gentleman in distress does not even wish to live in an enemy state. How could he serve as an official there? Even if I wanted office, I would not serve as an official of Jin." When Zhou Zhikao heard this, he knew Bailey. She was mocking him. He could not help but feel resentful. At this time, Duke Mu of Qin, Renhao, had been on the throne for 6 years and still had no principal wife. So he sent the Grand Officer Gong Zizi to Jin to request a marriage. He wanted to marry Duke Xian's eldest daughter, Boji, as his wife. Duke Xian ordered the Grand Historian Su to divine with yarrow stalks, and the hexagram was unlucky. He then ordered the chief diviner Guoyan to divine with a sacred turtle shell, and he received an excellent, greatly auspicious hexagram. The historian and the diviner each insisted on his own result, and neither would yell, Duke Xian said. The ancients often said that following the yarrow is not as good as following the turtle. I have heard that Qin received its mandate from the son of heaven of Zhou, and it will surely grow strong in the future. This marriage cannot be refused. So he agreed to form a marriage alliance with Qin. Gong Zizi returned to Qin to report. On the road, he happened to meet a man. The man's face glowed with health. He had a thick beard and a high nose. He was holding a hoe with both hands and plowing the field. The iron hoe sank several feet into the earth. Gong Zizi was astonished. He ordered his attendants to carry the hoe over for a look, but none of them could even lift it. Gong Zizi asked the man's name. The man replied, "My clan name is Gongsun, my given name is Zi, and my style name is Zhu Zhang. I am a distant relative of the ruler of Jin." Gong Zizi asked again, "With your ability, why do you lower yourself to work in the fields?" Gongsun Zi said, "Because no one recommends me." Gong Zizi asked, "Would you be willing to follow me to Qin and serve as an official?" Gongsun Zi replied, "A man will die for one who understands him. If you are willing to recommend me, then I am naturally willing to go." So he went with Gong Zizi to Qin, and Duke Mu of Qin appointed him a grand officer. When Duke Mu heard that Jin had accepted the marriage, he ordered Gong Zizi to go to Jin again to present the betrothal gifts and prepare to escort the bride. Duke Xian summoned his ministers and discussed who should be chosen as the attendant minister to accompany the bride. Zhou Zhikao still held a grudge against Bailey Shi, so he used the chance to say, "Bailey Shi refuses to serve as an official of Jin. He must harbor disloyal intentions. It is better to send him along to Qin." Duke Xian approved at once. This Bailey Shi was originally a man of Yu. His style name was Jingbo. He did not marry until he was nearly 30, when he took a woman of the Dou clan as his wife, and they had a son. Bailey Shi's family was poor, and he was talented but never recognized. Many times he wanted to travel and seek office, but he worried that his wife and child would have no one to rely on, so he could not bear to leave. His wife of the Dou clan urged him. She said, "I have heard people say that a man's ambition should reach the 4 directions. You are in your prime. If you do not go out to seek office, will you really stay here and be trapped with your wife and child? We can take care of ourselves. Do not worry anymore." The Bailey household had only one old hen. Dou slaughtered it as a farewell meal for him. There was no firewood in the house, so she removed the wooden bolt from the door and burned it. Bailey Shi ate his fill, then said goodbye to his wife and child. Before he left, Dou held the baby in her arms and tightly gripped Bailey's sheath clothes, with tears streaming down her face. She said, "When you gain wealth and rank, do not forget me and our child." After leaving home, Bailey Shi first went to Keith. He wanted to seek a position under Duke Xiang of Keith, but no one recommended him. He fell into poverty and wandered, begging along the streets until he reached the place called Z. By then he was already over 40. In Z, there was a man named Jian Shu. He saw that Bailey Shia had an unusual look and said, "You were never meant to be someone who begs along the streets." So he invited Bailey Shia to eat at his home. They discussed the state of the world. "And Bailey," she answered smoothly, speaking without pause. Jian Shu sighed and said, "With talent like yours, how can you be so poor? Is this truly heaven's decree?" Jian Shu kept Bailey Shi in his household, and the two became sworn brothers. Jian Shu's family was also poor. To reduce Jian Shu's burden, Bailey Shi went into the village and raised cattle for others. Then Prince Wuji of Kuiqiu Duke Jiang had made himself ruler. He posted notices everywhere to recruit worthy men. Bailey Shi heard the news and wanted to respond. Jian Shu quickly stopped him and said, "The late Duke Xiang has a true son living outside the state. Wuji murdered his ruler and seized the throne. Sooner or later, he will fail." Later, Bailey, she heard that Prince Tui, the son of the Zhou king, loved cattle. Anyone who raised cattle for him could receive generous pay. So Bailey, she said farewell to Jian Shu and prepared to go to Zhou. Before he left, Jian Shu warned him again and again. He said, "A true man should not lightly bind himself to serving another. Otherwise, if you become someone's official and then leave halfway, that is disloyal. And if you give blind loyalty to someone who is destined to fail, that is not wise. On this trip, you must be very careful." Bailey she reached Zhou, met Prince Tui, and presented his skills in raising cattle. Prince Tui was delighted and wanted to take Bailey Shi as a household retainer. At this moment, Jian Shu arrived. He met Prince Tui and then said to Bailey Shi, "Tui has great ambition but shallow ability. The people around him are all slanderers and flatterers, so sooner or later he will plot rebellion and offend his superior. Brother, you should leave early." Bailey Shi had been separated from his wife and child for a long time, and he missed them. "He wanted to return to you," Jian Shu said. "In you, there is a worthy minister named Gong Jiqi. He is my friend. We have not met for a long time, and I want to visit him. If you truly want to return to you, we can travel together." So the two went to you as companions. Bailey, she first went home to look for his wife, but by then, Du had been forced by poverty to drift away. No one knew where she was. Bailey, she felt deep sorrow. Jian Shu met Gong Jiqi and introduced Bailey Shi's talent and character. Gong Jiqi recommended him to the ruler of Ul, and Bailey she was appointed as a high grand officer. After Jian Shu finished visiting his friend, he said farewell to Bailey Shi. As he left, he said, "I see that the ruler of Yu is short-sighted and stubborn. He is not a ruler who can accomplish great things." Bailey, she said, "I have been poor for a long time, like a fish stranded on land. I urgently need a ladle of water to save my life." Jian Shu said, "You take office because of poverty. I cannot stop you. If you want to see me in the future, go to Minglu village in the state of Song. That place is quiet and elegant. I will go there to live in seclusion." After saying this, he left. Bailey, she remained in Yu as an official. When the ruler of Yu later lost his state because of greed for treasures, Bailey she did not want to abandon his lord and flee. He said, "I have already made an unwise choice. How could I now become an unloyal man?" From then on, he stayed in Jin with the ruler of Yu as his companion. One day, Bailey, she heard that Jin planned to send him as an attendant minister to accompany the bride to Qin. He sighed deeply and said, "I, Bailey Shi, have the talent to help the world, yet I never met a wise lord. I could not carry out great ambition. Now in old age I am treated like a servant and sent away as part of a dowry. The ruler of Jin humiliates me too much." So he escaped on the road to Qin. He originally wanted to flee to Song to visit Jian Shu, but he was blocked halfway and fled to Shu instead. Bailey Shu reached Wansheng in Shu, just as the local tribesmen were out hunting. They suspected he was a spy from another state, so they tied him up. Bailey she cried out again and again that he was innocent. He said, "I am a man of you. My state has fallen, so I have fled here as a refugee." The tribesmen asked what skill he had. Bailey, she said, "I am best at raising cattle." They untied him and let him raise cattle. Bailey she raised the cattle until they were fat and strong, and the tribesmen were very pleased. News of his skill soon reached the king of Chu. The king summoned him and asked what the secret was. Bailey she replied, "Feed them on time, protect their strength, and let your heart and the cattle become one." The king of Chu praised him. "Wonderful. What you say is not only useful for raising cattle, it also works for raising horses." So he ordered Bailey Shi to serve as a groom, tending horses at Nanhai. Now, Duke Mu of Qin saw that among the attendants from Jin there was the name Bailey Shi, yet the man himself was not there. He felt puzzled. Gong Zizi quickly reported, "This man was originally an old minister of Yu. He has now fled." Duke Mu of Qin asked Gong Senzi, "Since you were in Jin, you must know the background of this man. What kind of person is he?" "Really?" Gong Senzi said, "A truly capable man." When he saw that the ruler of Yu could not be persuaded, he stopped speaking, and that was his wisdom. After the ruler of Yu lost his state, Bailey Shi stayed with his lord in Jin and did not take Jin's salary, and that was his loyalty. Also, he has real talent to help the world. He simply never met the right opportunity. Duke Mu said, "How can I obtain him and put him to important use?" Gong Senzi said, "I have heard his wife and child drifted to Shu. Then he must have fled to Shu as well, so Duke Mu sent people to Shu to investigate. Before long, they reported back, "Bailey, she is now herding horses for the ruler of Shu by the seashore." Duke Mu was overjoyed and said, "If I use rich gifts to exchange for him, will Chu agree?" Gong Xinzi replied, "Bailey, she will not come that way." Duke Mu asked why. Gong Xinzi said, "Chu made him herd horses because they do not understand his ability. If you use rich gifts to exchange for him, it is the same as revealing his talent to Shu. Once Shu knows what he can do, they will promote him, and they will never give him to us. My lord should instead redeem him at a low price, using the charge that he is a runaway attendant minister. This is exactly the kind of tactic Guan Zhong once used to escape from the state of Lu." So Duke Mu sent 5 ram skins to the king of Chu and said, "Our attendant minister Bailey, she fled to your state. My ruler wishes to redeem him with 5 ram skins and punish him severely, to warn others." The king of Chu feared losing Qin's favor. He quickly sent people to the eastern sea, seized Bailey Shi, and handed him over to Qin. Before Bailey Shi left, people believed he would surely be executed. They grabbed him and cried loudly. Bailey, she smiled and said, "I have heard the ruler of Qin intends to dominate the world. Why would he go to such trouble just for one runaway servant? He demands me from Chu because he wants to use me. I am about to gain wealth and rank. Why are you crying for me?" Bailey Shi rode in a prisoner cart and had just reached Qin territory when Duke Mu sent Gong Xinzi to welcome him. Bailey Shi was first helped out of the prisoner cart, then he was brought in for an audience. Duke Mu asked, "How old are you?" "Bailey," she answered, "Only 70. Duke Mu sighed, "A pity. Too old." "Bailey," she said, "if you want me to chase birds and wrestle beasts, then yes, I am old. But if you want me to sit in the court hall and plan the affairs of state, then I am still young." In the past, Elsheng was still fishing by the Wei River at 80. Later King Wen of Zhou used him, honored him as Shang Fu, and in the end he helped Zhou unify the realm. Now I meet you 10 years earlier than Elsheng met King Wen, do I not? Duke Mu saw that he was old yet vigorous, and he could not help but respect him. He then asked, "Our state lies between 2 Rong and D peoples. We cannot ally with the lords of the Central Plains. Sir, what strategy can keep our state from falling behind them?" "Bailey," she said, "you do not look down on me as a captive from a fallen state. You ask with an open mind. How could I not give my full effort? The lands of Yang and Qi once formed the foundation of Zhou's rise. Now the Zhou royal house cannot control them and has granted them to Qin. This is heaven helping Qin. Qin sits among the Rong and D tribes. This makes your soldiers strong and your horses robust. And because you cannot form alliances with the Central Plains, your people become of one heart. Now the Western Rong are split and divided. If we absorb their lands, we can farm them. If we draft their people, we can fight with them. This is an advantage the Central Plains lords cannot compete with. You can either soothe them with benevolence or conquer them with force. Take the whole western frontier. Then rely on the natural defenses of mountains and rivers. Look out over the Central Plains and wait for the right moment to advance. In this way, the path to kingship and hegemony will come naturally." Duke Mu rose to his feet and praised him. "With Bailishi, I am like he when it had Guan Yewu." After that, Duke Mu spoke with Bailishi for 3 days in a row. Ruler and minister understood each other completely. Duke Mu appointed Bailishi as chief minister and entrusted all state affairs to him. From then on, the people of Qin called Bailishi the 5 ramskins grand officer. An old bearded man praised him in verse, "From prison cart to chief minister. How strange and grand." After Guan Zhong, we hear of Bailishi again. From this day, Western Qin becomes famed and strong. 5 ramskins did not shortchange his true worth. But Bailey, she refused the post of chief minister, and he recommended someone else to Duke Mu to take his place. Now, Duke Mu of Qin saw that Bailey Shi truly had exceptional ability, and he was delighted. He wanted to appoint him as chief minister. Bailey Shi hurriedly declined and said, "My talent is not even 1/10 of my friend Jian Shu's. If you want to govern Qin well, you must let Jian Shu take charge. I am willing to be his assistant." Duke Mu said, "I have personally seen and heard your ability. As for Jian Shu's reputation, today is the first time I have ever heard of it." "Bailey," she said, "Jian Shu is truly capable. Not only do you not know him, even the states where he once lived, Qi and Song, have never heard of him. In this age, I fear only I understand him. When I was young and poor, I traveled to Qi and Zhou. I wanted to seek office under Prince Wuji of Qi and Prince Tui of Zhou, but my sworn elder brother Jianshu stopped me both times. I listened to him, and that is why I escaped the fate of disgrace and ruin alongside those two men. Later I returned to you and wanted to serve the ruler of you. Jianshu tried to stop me again, but at that time I was poor to the extreme. I only wanted enough food to survive, so I temporarily relied on the ruler of you. In the end, I became a captive in Jin, together with the ruler of you, after you fell. Twice I listened to Jianshu and escaped great disaster. Once I did not listen, and I nearly lost my life. From this you can see how extraordinary his wisdom is. Now Jianshu lives in Minglu village in the state of Song. My lord should summon him quickly, and make full use of him. So Duke Mu sent Gong Zizi disguised as a merchant, carrying heavy gifts, and Bailey Shi's letter, to invite Jianshu. Gong Zizi packed his belongings and rode his chariot to Minglu village. Before he even reached the village entrance, he saw several farmers resting on the field ridges. They sang one after another. The mountain is high, yet we do not need a carriage. The road is muddy, yet we do not need a torch. We walk together on the ridges. The spring water is sweet, and the soil is rich. We work with our 4 limbs, and we harvest our 5 grains. If the seasons do not harm us, our meals will be enough. We enjoy the mandate of heaven, with neither honor nor shame. Gong Zizi sat in his chariot and listened. The melody was clear and lifted. With a feeling beyond the dust of the world, he sighed and said, "The ancients said, when there is a gentleman in the village, the coarse customs are transformed. In Jianshu's hidden place, even the farmers are so refined. He must be a great worthy." Gong Zizi got down and asked the farmers where Jianshu lived. The farmers pointed and said, "In the bamboo grove ahead, there is a spring on the left and rocks on the right. In the middle, there is a thatched hut. That is Jianshu's home." Gong Zizi bowed to thank them, then drove to the hut. He stopped and looked around, and saw the surroundings were quiet and elegant. A hermit of Longxi had a poem about living in seclusion. In the green bamboo grove, the scene is deepest and most still. What more could one ask for in life than this joy? White stones pile like rising clouds in every direction. A clear spring becomes a stream and flows into the ravine. With true delight, one can share joy with monkeys and apes. With a mind free of schemes, one can roam with deer. Let the red dust fill the sky as it wishes. The master lies high in rest, with no worries at all. Gong Zizi parked beside the hut and told his attendants to knock. A boy opened the door and asked, "Where does the honored guest come from?" Gong Zizi said, "I have come to visit Master Jian." The boy said, "My master is watching the spring with 2 old neighbors at the stone bridge. He will return soon." Gong Zizi did not dare to enter the hut without permission, so he sat on a roadside rock and waited. Before long, he saw a big man coming from the western ridge. He had thick eyebrows and round eyes, a square face and a tall body. On his back were 2 deer legs. He walked in long strides. Gong Zizi saw his dignified appearance and quickly rose to greet him. The man also set down the game and returned the greeting. Gong Zizi asked his name. The man replied, "My surname is Gian, my given name is Bing, and my style name is Biggie." Gong Zizi asked, "What is Jianshu to you?" Jian Bing answered, "He is my father." Gong Zizi bowed again and said he had long admired Jianshu. Jian Bing asked what Gong Zizi had come for. Gong Zizi said, "Your father's friend Bailey, she is now an official in Qin. He has a letter and asked me to deliver it to your father." Jian Bing invited Gong Zizi into the hut and said, "My father will return at once. Please, wait a moment." They sat as host and guest. Gong Zizi spoke with Gian Bing about farming, and later they spoke about martial skills. Gian Bing answered each point clearly and in order. Gong Zizi was quietly amazed and thought, like father, like son. Bailey, she praised Jianshu's abilities so highly, and it seems he was not exaggerating at all. Just then, the boy came to report, "My master has returned." Jianshu came back from watching the spring with 2 old neighbors. He saw 2 chariots parked at his door and exclaimed, "Where did such vehicles come from in our village?" Jian Bing went outside and told his father that a distinguished guest had come from far away. Jianshu entered with the 2 old men and met Gong Zizi. Then they sat down in order. Jianshu said, "My son just told me that my brother Jingbo has a letter for me. Please show it to me." Gong Zizi presented the letter. Jianshu saw that it said, "I did not listen to my elder brother's words and fell into hardship in you. By good fortune, I met the ruler of Qin, Renhao, who values the worthy and loves talent. He redeemed me from among the horse herders and put me to important use. I know my wisdom is not equal to yours, so I have recommended you to the ruler of Qin. He thirsts for worthy men. He now specially sends the Grand Officer Gong Zizi with heavy gifts to invite you. I hope you will put the world first, leave the mountains with a generous heart, and display your talent and ambition. If you still long for the quiet of forests and fields, then I will also resign my office and come to Minglu village to live with you. After reading, Jianshu asked Gong Zizi, how did the ruler of Qin discover Jingbo? Gong Zizi then told him the full story. He explained how Beiliji escaped while serving as an attendant minister, how Duke Mu admired his talent, and how he redeemed him with 5 ram skins. Gong Zizi also said, now my lord wants to appoint Jingbo as chief minister, but Jingbo insists that his talent is not as good as yours. He will not accept the post unless you come to Qin. My lord ordered me to bring modest gifts and come to welcome you. As he finished, he ordered his attendants to bring out the gifts from the chariot. Jianshu hesitated about entering public service. One of the neighbor elders advised him, Qin values the worthy and cherishes talent so deeply, you must not disappoint Duke Mu's sincere goodwill. Jianshu said, in the past, the ruler of Yu did not value Jingbo, and that led to the fall of the state. If Duke Mu truly is humble and uses the worthy, then Jingbo alone is enough. What use is one more old man like me? Gong Zizi said, if you do not go, then Jingbo will certainly not stay alone either. Jianshu thought for a long time, then sighed. Jingbo carried talent for many years, without meeting his chance. Now he has found a wise lord. I cannot refuse to help fulfill his ambition. I will go for Jingbo's sake. Gong Zizi was overjoyed. Jianshu ordered wine brought out. The 2 neighbor elders stayed to accompany them and host Gong Zizi. Gong Zizi spent the night in Jianshu's home. Early the next morning, the 2 neighbor elders came with wine again to see Jianshu off. During the farewell meal, Gong Zizi praised Jian Bing's talent and asked that he go along as well. Jianshu agreed. Jianshu then distributed Duke Mu's gifts to the neighbor elders and asked them to watch over the hut. He said, I will not be gone long. In the future I will return to farm here again. The 2 elders solemnly said goodbye to Jianshu. Gong Zizi rode side by side with Jianshu and his son. When they reached the outskirts of Qin, Gong Zizi entered the court first to report to Duke Mu. He said, Master Jian has arrived outside the city. His son Jian Bing also has outstanding talent. I have invited them both. Duke Mu was delighted and immediately ordered Beiliji to go out and welcome them. When Jianshu arrived, Duke Mu stepped down the stairs and personally greeted him. He granted him a seat and asked, Jingbo praises your ability highly. What guidance can you give me? Jianshu said, Qin lies far in the west. Close to the Rong and the Di, the terrain is dangerous. And your soldiers are strong and your horses are powerful. You can advance to fight and retreat to defend. The reason you still do not match the lords of the Central Plains is that your authority and your virtue are not enough if your authority is not strong. How will others fear you if your virtue is not deep? How will others admire you? Duke Mu asked. Between authority and virtue, which matters more? Jianshu replied, Virtue is the root, and authority supports it. If you have virtue without authority, you will be bullied from outside. If you have authority without virtue, you will face turmoil inside. Duke Mu said, I want to spread virtue widely and establish authority firmly. What path can I follow? Jianshu said, the Qin people have been influenced by the customs of the Rong and the Dea. Their rituals are incomplete, and they do not clearly distinguish noble and low. You should first use ritual to teach and transform them, and then use strict law to supervise them. Once ritual education is applied, the people will learn to respect those above and honor their ruler. Then use virtue so they feel grateful, and use strict law so they feel fear. In that way, the relation between upper and lower will become as responsive as a head directing hands and feet. This is also why the troops, led by Guan Yewu, could command the realm and face no equal. Duke Mu asked, if we can do what you say, can we then dominate the world? Jianshu replied, not necessarily. A man who wants to dominate the world must keep 3 restraints: restrain greed, restrain anger, and restrain impatience. If you can do this, then the hegemonic path has real hope. Duke Mu said, then please set out for me what Qin must handle first, and what can wait. Jianshu said, now Duke Huan of Kia is old, and his hegemonic power is about to decline. You must first settle and comfort the people of Yang and Wei. You must also win over the wrong tribes, and conquer those who refuse to accept transformation. Then train and discipline your army, wait for the right moment, and press toward the Central Plains. Take up the legacy that Qi's hegemon will leave behind. At the same time, spread virtue broadly to the lords and the common people under heaven. When that time comes, Even if you do not want to become hegemon, you will not be able to refuse. Duke Mu said happily, to have the two elders, Jian Shu and Bailey Shi, assisting me, is truly a blessing for the common people of Qin. So he appointed Jian Shu as right. She is Zhang Bailey, she is left Shi Zhang, and placed them together in the rank of chief minister, calling them the two chancellors. He also appointed Jian Bing as a grand officer. From that point on, the two chancellors managed state affairs together. They established laws, taught the people, promoted benefit, and removed harm. In the end, Qin was brought to great order. A court historian wrote a poem in praise. Zi recommended Shi, and Shi recommended Shu. They drew each other forward and filled Qin's court with talent. If a ruler loves worthy men, like Duke Mu of Qin, why ask whether the land itself is blessed? Duke Mu saw that many worthy and talented men came from foreign states and distant places, so he sent more people out to search and investigate. Gongzizi recommended a Qin man named Ziki Shu, and Duke Mu summoned him and put him to important use. Bailey Shi had long heard that a man of Jin named Yu Yu had the talent to manage the world. He asked Gongsunzi about Yu's current situation. Gongsunzi said, Yu Yu is not valued in Jin. He has already gone to serve as an official among the Western Rong. Bailey Shi sighed again and again, calling it a pity. Now let us speak of Bailey Shi's wife, the woman of the Zhou clan. After her husband left home to seek office, she supported herself by weaving at home. Later, famine struck, and she could not survive there anymore. She took their son and left for another place. They drifted from place to place, and in the end they reached Qin. She made a living by washing clothes for others. Her son was named Shi, with the style name Mingming. He did not do proper work. All day he hunted and played with others. After Bailey, she became an official in Qin. Du heard news of it. She even saw him from far away once in a carriage, but she did not dare to recognize him openly. To find him, Du volunteered to wash clothes at his residence. One day, Bailey, she sat high in the main hall, listening to musicians playing in the corridor below. Du said to the people in the residence, "This old woman understands music a little. Please lead me to the corridor so I can listen." They led her there, and they also told the musicians what she had said. The musicians asked what she was good at. Du said, "I can play the qin, and I can sing." The musicians asked her to try a piece. Du took the qin and played. The sound was bitter, sorrowful, and full of grievance. The musicians then asked her to sing. Du said, "This old woman has not sung for many years. Please report to your master and let me sing in the hall before him." The musicians reported to Bailey Shi, and Bailey Shi agreed. Du lowered her head, adjusted her clothing, raised her voice, and sang, "Bailey Shi, 5 ramskins. I remember our parting. I boiled the old hen, pounded the pickled greens, and burned the door bowl to cook the meal. Now that you are rich and honored, have you forgotten me?" Bailey Shi, 5 ramskins. You eat fine meat, while your child cries from hunger. You wear embroidered cloths, while your wife washes clothes. Alas, now that you are rich and honored, have you forgotten me? Bailey Shi, 5 ramskins. In the old days, you left, and I cried. Today, you sit high, and I am the one who must leave. Alas, now that you are rich and honored, have you forgotten me? When Bailey Shi heard the song, he was shocked. He immediately summoned Du and questioned her. Husband and wife recognized each other. Bailey Shi and Du held each other and wept hard. Only after a long time did Bailey Shi finally ask, "Where is our child?" Du said, "He is in the village, shooting arrows and hunting for fun." Bailey Shi sent people to find him and bring him back. At last, husband, wife, and son were reunited. When Duke Mu heard that Bailey Shi's wife and child had arrived, he sent gifts to congratulate them. The next day, Bailey Shi brought his son to court to give thanks. Duke Mu appointed Bailey Shi as a grand officer and gave him, together with Ziki Shu and Jian Bing, authority over military expeditions and campaigns. They were called the Three Commanders. A Jiangrong leader named Wu Li was arrogant and cruel. He often led troops to raid Qin's borders. The Three Commanders were ordered to punish him. Wu Li was defeated and fled to Jin, where he seized Jin's Guazhou. When the Western Rong leader Qibin saw that Qin had become powerful, he sent his senior minister Yu Yu on a mission to Qin. He wanted Yu to use the trip to observe Duke Mu's character and ability. Duke Mu and Yu strolled together through the palace gardens and climbed the Sangshu terrace. Duke Mu showed off the splendor of the palaces and gardens. Yu said, Did you build all this by ordering ghosts to work, or by ordering people to work? If you make ghosts work, you exhaust the spirits. If you make people work, you exhaust the common people." Duke Mu was surprised by his words and said, "You're wrong. People have no rituals and no laws. How do you govern a state?" Yu Yu smiled and said, "Ritual and law are exactly the root of Central Plains chaos. The ancient sages created laws and rules to restrain the people. At the beginning, it only brought a small amount of peace. Later, those in power grew more and more arrogant and indulgent. They used ritual and music as a name to decorate themselves. They used law and authority as a threat to control others. In the end, the common people across the realm were full of resentment. The lords of the Central Plains plotted usurpations and attacked each other without end. But the wrong are not like that. Our ruler has simple and honest virtue, and the people below have loyal hearts. Above and below are one body. We do not need false appearances to deceive each other. And we do not need complex laws to bind each other. Without deliberate governing, the state is already peaceful and stable." Duke Mu had no reply. After he stepped down, he told Yu Yu's words to Bailey Shi. Bailey Shi said, "Yu Yu is a great worthy man of Jin. I have long heard his name." Duke Mu said unhappily, "I often hear people say, if a neighboring state has a sage, the enemy state will have trouble. Now Yu Yu is so capable, yet he is being used by the wrong. Will Qin not face endless future danger?" "Bailey," she said, "the palace scribe Liao is wise and full of plans. You can discuss it with him." So Duke Mu summoned Nishi Liao and asked for a strategy. Liao said, "The wrong ruler lives far on the frontier and has never seen the songs and dances of the Central Plains. You can send him some beautiful women and musicians, use them to weaken his will, then keep Yu Yu here and do not let him leave, so he misses his return date. Once Western wrong affairs are neglected and the people above and below grow dissatisfied, later we can seize even their state, let alone one minister." Duke Mu was delighted. On one side, he had Qin's senior ministers Ji and Shu, Bailey Shi, Gongsun Zi, and others take turns hosting banquets to keep Yu Yu entertained and delayed. On the other side, he ordered 6 beautiful women and musicians to be selected and decorated, and he sent Nishi Liao to deliver them to the wrong ruler. The wrong ruler Chibin was very pleased and kept the women and musicians. From then on, in the daytime he listened to music, and at night he enjoyed women. He threw state affairs aside. Only a full year later did you manage to return. The wrong ruler blamed him for delaying his return. Yu Yu said, "Day and night I wanted to come back, but the ruler of Qin kept detaining me." The wrong ruler suspected that you had some secret connection with Qin, and he became deeply dissatisfied. Yu Yu saw that Shibun was drowning in song, dance, wine, and lust, and neglecting government. He felt uneasy. Several times he spoke bitterly to remonstrate, but Shibun rejected him every time. When Duke Mu heard this, he sent someone to summon Yu Yu to Qin. Yu Yu indeed abandoned the wrong and returned to Qin. Duke Mu appointed him as deputy chief minister and had him, together with Jin Shu and Bailey Shi, manage Qin's military and civil affairs. To repay Duke Mu's favor of recognizing his worth, Yu Yu offered a plan for attacking the wrong. Duke Mu approved. He ordered the 3 commanders to lead troops to attack the western wrong. The wrong ruler Chibin could not resist and had no choice but to surrender to Qin. Later, people wrote a poem. You rejected Bailey, and in the end became a captive. The wrong lost Yu Yu, and also lost the state. In the end, only the worthy can truly sustain a country. Look at Qi's hegemony and Qin's strength. The western wrong ruler, Chibin, was the leader of all the wrong tribes. Once he surrendered to Qin, the other tribes also submitted one after another. That day, Duke Mu rewarded merit and held a great banquet for the ministers. At the feast he drank without noticing how much, and people helped him back to the palace to rest. No one expected that once he lay down, he would not wake up. Crown Prince Mi ordered the court physicians to take his pulse. The pulse was normal, but Duke Mu could not speak or move. The physicians said, "It must be ghosts and spirits causing trouble." So Crown Prince Mi ordered Nishi Liao to perform rites and prayers. Nishi Liao said, "Your father is possessed by a spirit. He must be having a strange dream. We must wait for his body to recover on its own. We must not disturb him. Ritual and prayers will not help." The Crown Prince stayed by the bed and did not dare to leave even one step. Only on the 5th day did Duke Mu finally wake. His whole head was covered in sweat, and he kept saying, "Strange, strange." Crown Prince Mi quickly knelt and asked, "Father, are you well? Why did you sleep for so long?" Duke Mu said, "I only slept for a short while." The Crown Prince said, "You have slept for 5 days and 5 nights while you were asleep. Did you have any strange dream?" Duke Mu asked in shock, "How did you know that?" The Crown Prince replied, "I heard it from Nishi Liao." Duke Mu summoned Nishi Liao and said, "I dreamed of a woman dressed like a palace consort. Her appearance was dignified and beautiful. She held a heavenly tally and said she had come by order of the heavenly emperor to summon me. I followed her and felt my body floating, as if riding on clouds. Before long, we arrived at a palace. At the top of jade steps hung a beaded curtain. The woman led me to kneel and bow. After a while, the curtain was lifted. I saw a king wearing a pearl crown and a dragon robe, sitting with his hand resting on a jade table. I heard him ordered wine to be granted. An inner attendant then offered me wine in a green jade cup. Its taste was sweeter than anything I had ever known. The king handed a document to his attendants. Then I heard a loud voice in the hall read out, 'Let the ruler of Qin, Ren Hao, hear this decree. You are commanded to preside over the pacification of the disorder in Jin.' After the woman taught me how to bow in thanks, she led me out of the palace. I asked her name. She said, 'I am called Lady Bo. I live on the western slope of Mount Taibei. Within your domain, have you never heard of me? My husband is called Lordi. He lives in Nanyang and comes to meet me once every year or two. If you build a shrine for me, I will assist you in becoming hegemon of the realm and ensure your name is passed down for 10,000 generations.' I then asked her, 'Why is Jin in great disorder, and why does the heavenly emperor command me to pacify it?' Lady Bo replied, 'This is a matter of heaven's secrets and cannot be revealed in advance.' At that moment, I heard a rooster crow. The sound was like thunder. Then I awoke. I do not know whether this dream is auspicious or not." Nishi Liao said, "The ruler of Jin favors Li Ji and distances the crown prince. This will surely lead to great chaos in Jin. That your grace received a mandate from the heavenly emperor is truly a sign of great fortune." Duke Mu asked again, "Who exactly is this Lady Bao?" Liao answered, "I have heard that during the time of your late father, Duke Wen, a man of Chen Kang dug up a strange creature from the earth. It looked like a traveling bag, with a pointed mouth and a short tail, and its color was yellow mixed with white. The man wanted to present it to Duke Wen. On the way, he encountered 2 children. When they saw the creature, they clapped their hands and laughed, saying, 'You once abused the dead. Who would have thought you would fall into the hands of the living today?' The 2 children told the man that this creature was called a Wei. It often lived underground and fed on the brains of the dead. By absorbing human essence, it could change its form. They warned him again and again not to let it escape. At that moment, the creature called Wei opened its mouth and spoke human words. It said, 'These 2 children, one male and one female, are called Chenbo. They are both transformed from mountain pheasants. If you can capture them, whoever gets the male can become king or emperor, and whoever gets the female can become hegemon of the realm.' The man then set the Wei down and chased the children. The 2 children turned into mountain pheasants and flew away. The man reported all this to Duke Wen. Duke Wen ordered it recorded and stored in the inner archives. I am in charge of those records, so I have read this account. Chen Kang lies to the west of Mount Taibei. Your grace can go there under the pretext of hunting and investigate this matter." Duke Mu ordered the documents stored by Duke Wen to be brought out and read. They matched exactly what Nishi Liao had said. The next day, after Duke Mu held court and received the minister's bows, he ordered his chariot prepared and set out to hunt at Mount Taibei. When they reached Mount Chenkang, hunters caught a mountain pheasant in their nets. The pheasant was pure white and flawless, shining with radiant light. In an instant, it transformed into a stone pheasant, yet its color and brilliance did not diminish at all. Nishi Liao congratulated Duke Mu and said, "This is Lady Bo. He who obtains the female will become hegemon of the realm. This is likely the sign that your grace's hegemonic enterprise is about to be fulfilled. You should build a shrine for it here in Chenkang. In the future, you will surely receive its blessing." Duke Mu was overjoyed. He ordered people to bathe the stone pheasant with fragrant water, wrap it in fine silk, and place it in a jade casket. He then began construction of a shrine on the mountain, naming it the Shrine of Lady Bo. Every spring and autumn, officials were specially assigned to offer sacrifices. From that time on the morning of every sacrificial day, the sound of a rooster crowing could be heard from the mountain. The sound was deep and powerful, echoing for several miles. Every year or two, people could also see a streak of red light accompanied by thunderfly into Mount Chenkang. This was Lord the coming to meet his wife. Lord the was the spirit of the male mountain pheasant. which normally lived in the mountains of Nanyang. More than 400 years later, a man born in Nanyang Lu Su, the future Emperor Guangwu of Han, rose in arms to overthrow Wang Ming and restore the Han dynasty, becoming the founding emperor of the later Han. This was the fulfillment of the prophecy: he who obtains the male will become king or emperor. As for how Duke Mu of Qin went on to pacify the disorder in Jin, we will continue that story in the next episode.
Sky in light, Nua healed the broken heart. Fuxi traced the world's design. Every age leaves stories bright. Yaya dynasty shaped bronze. Shang dynasty cast leave stories bright. History and myth ignite in endless light. China's history moves in mystery through the night. Footsteps of this land enchant the world in light. Kingdoms dynasty turn war to tales. Jin dynasty led Ink and mountains bloom. Sui dynasty carved the Grand Canal. Tang dynasty crowned the world with art. Song dynasty raised learning's flame.